always do this, right? When we go to Jason Jones, you bring up things like
What?
the Lakers not making the playoffs. That's unacceptable behavior,
I
man.
didn't.
This
I
is our
didn't.
guy, the professor,
He
Jason
can't.
Jones.
I didn't know he was
He
on.
can't hurt me. Yeah, he can't hurt me. He can't hurt me. He can't hurt me more than that team can hurt. He can't hurt me.
You covered the Kings for 11 years. You're damn near invincible here at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I covered Lane Kiffin. I mean, Al Davis. Please, this isn't phase. He can't phase me at all.
Teflon.
Hey,
Teflon. I will.
yeah, he's got 16 years worth of scar tissue built up. So hey.
Jason Jones looked like Dusty Rhodes' forehead. He's been beat up enough.
What's the man's name? LoJack?
He looked like New Jack. That's right.
Yeah. Been playing for like 3-4 decades. You can't touch doesn't bother me at all.
Hey, Jay, we're going to get into Kings coaching search, the NBA, and all this other stuff. But you brought up something. You did cover the Raiders for a long time, so you're familiar with how the NFL works and some of the back channels with all that. In your opinion, what's going on with Debo? Because it doesn't seem to be money. It seems like the Niners are giving money. It doesn't seem to be like a role, like he's a main. Somebody joked, I've never heard a wide receiver say, "Give me the ball less," and this guy's saying, "Give me the ball less." What do you think is really going on with Debo right now?
I think it is money. I think he's in a very unique situation. That's what happens when you get a guy who's a second round pick. You don't get that 5-year option. But he's in a unique situation. And flashback to some years ago when Terrell Suggs was in that potential franchise tag situation. And remember, both the argument his agents made was, what do you franchise him at? Is he a DN or is he really a, quote, linebacker? And I think Debo is going to have a very compelling argument to say, you know what? I'm a wide receiver, but I'm also your best running back.
Yep.
So how do you pay a guy like that? Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're the Niners, you say, you know what, we want to get a team-friendly deal, but, yeah, how do you pay a guy like Debo? I don't know. Because, I mean, yeah, he's a wide receiver, but I think most Niner fans would say in a close game out the backfield, you almost want to see Debo with the ball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he's in a really unique situation. Those second-round picks and beyond can put teams in a tough spot because they don't have that 5th-year option. So I think there's some things that play. Obviously, the agents are, see the situation. And, right now the Niners can't do a whole lot in the sense that Jimmy's still on the team in his contract. Bosa's going to get paid. You saw the extension that Max Crosby got. So, Bosa's saying, okay, I'm getting more than that. So, there's a lot of moving parts at play right now. I just kind of see the thing where you say, you know what, let's see, can we squeeze them while we're at it, and maybe to try to get one thing off the table, we get a deal that's to our liking. So I mean, I still think it's that big of a deal at the moment because just because a guy asked to be traded doesn't mean he's getting traded. Now, if the Niners move him, I'd be like, oh wow, that's crazy. But I mean, guys ask to be traded all the time and go nowhere. Some guys don't want to get traded. They get traded 2 or 3 times. So I just think it's a unique situation. Debo's a very unique player, and they're just going to see if they can get the Niners out of that.
As we transition back to basketball here, Chris Paul, another really unique player who's established his place in history, but this is a Phoenix Suns team that had 60-plus wins this year, and they're in a fight with the New Orleans Pelicans right now. Is this a stain for Chris Paul if this team loses in the first round of the playoffs?
I think if he was younger, yeah. I mean, it's still going to be a stain. They should not lose this series even without Devin Booker. But I think you kind of see it right now. He had that was it game 1 or whatever, He can't go out there and do that 5, 6 times in a series anymore. I just think it's, he's a smaller player. He's always been. Would be 37. I mean, and there's only one freak of nature who's 37. That's LeBron. Outside of that, most guys who are that age aren't going to be at that same type of level. And it's just, it's going to be a stain because outside of getting to the finals last year, Chris Paul's postseason narrative has always been about coming up short and flopping, failing. So I don't think they're going to lose the series, but they're going to be in a fight because without having Book out there, it makes these teams much closer. I still think that Phoenix is sort of the better team, but it's going to make it closer. And you know what? If this thing drags out a little bit longer and you give Devin Booker another few days to, kind of catch up, is it the worst thing? No. I mean, do you want to go 6-7 games in the series? Clearly you don't. But big picture, they should be able to still win this series without Booker and then get on to the next round. And then you worry about, Luka, since clearly the Utah Jazz are trying to get Quinn Snyder fired or something. I mean, they look awful.
Man.
They're trying to get Quinn Snyder to the Shield immediately because there is no reason. It's just funny because after the Lakers fire Vogel, that stuff comes from the LA Times about the way they treated Vogel. Quinn wouldn't really want that job as much. Like Utah Jazz players said, you know what? We're going to help them get to LA. Let's go out there and just not guard anybody the entire series.
Man.
Let's
And
go ahead and make sure we get Jalen Brunson paid while we're at it because we're not going to guard him once.
Yeah. And then you lose your best player. I mean, he might play in game 6, but he's not going to be 100%. That Utah thing is done. It's absolutely done. Just a gut feeling. And maybe some of it was just looking at him look stressed out all the time. I don't think Quinn Snyder's coaching next year. I think he would take the year off. He'd take the year that he'd still be getting paid. And I think he'd try and just recharge himself. You think he's going to go right into another job after this?
You never know. It depends on how much money Utah's going to owe him and how much the next team is paying him. I mean, and the job. I mean, who knows? Maybe he says, you know what, for a year or two with LeBron, it's worth it. But again, I don't think any of us are mad at anybody who takes some time off and gets paid.
Nice.
Free money, baby.
Yeah, I'm not going to knock him if he wants to do that too. Do a couple of TV guest spots, chill from the house. But most of these guys that get fired, guys I know will tell you the same thing. They're still watching games. It's like a disease. They're like we're sick people. We get fired and we still watch all these games.
Yeah.
Is there a name? We're talking about coaches, obviously with Quinn Snyder there, his time at Utah clearly coming to an end. Is there a name on the coaching list that was reported from Woj and your friends over at The Athletic that the Sacramento Kings are talking to here this week that intrigues you a little bit?
I don't know. I mean, intrigued. I think that the fact that Mark Jackson's on it surprised me. It just surprised me just because we all know kind of the Vivek follow the Warriors, pattern. And the Warriors don't mess with Mark like that.
Yeah.
Like at all. And it's all some personal stuff. But that's why I was surprised that he was on there. I think he deserves to be on there. I don't, whatever issues off the court people have with Mark. I mean, Mark did instill a level of discipline into that Warriors team that they had never had. So when Steve Kerr walked in, he got to tweak the offense, but there were some things that Mark and, the group he had in.
Mark Jackson got Jason's phone. Oh my! Oh no, that's okay.
I said something positive about Mark Jackson. Okay, I'm in trouble now.
They got you. Joe Lacob got your phone. He was like, "Hey, what was that?" Shut Jason Jones' phone down.
I'm in trouble. I'm just saying that. Hey, I'm not saying they should hire Mark. But that's why I was surprised Mark's on the list. I was like, is Vivek mad at the Lacob or something? Because generally, he's not going to go against what the Warriors people like. But I mean, I've been told stories in the past and coaching searches. Go call the Warriors and be like, "What do you think about this guy?" And one person over there told me one time, "Well, what do you think about him? Why are you asking us?" So
we ain't cool.
The fact that Mark is on there surprised me. But outside of that, I mean, you're going to see a lot of the same names for a lot of these jobs. I mean, to me, I'm not shocked at all that D'Antoni's on there. Someone who had a tie, on some level, Monty McNair. Someone who's going to, offensively at least, try to do some of the same things. I can also see a lot of Kings fans going, "Oh no, more offense, less defense again." We don't want to see that. So I'm going to be real curious how this thing kind of plays out for them, because I think in some ways the fact that you got guys that maybe the Warriors, it's just crazy about the Warriors all the time with the Kings, but maybe the fact that you got somebody who doesn't have, that wouldn't fit over there, is a sign that, you know what, maybe Monty has more say and he's going to really dig through this thing and see who we can find. So we'll see. It's an interesting list. I mean, like I said, I wasn't surprised to see D'Antoni or names like Atkinson show up, Darvin Ham. All of that's never going to pop up. It's just a matter of, with this roster, do you go for a guy who maybe is more defensive minded? Maybe you eventually call a Frank Vogel, but then again, Frank has the same problem he had in LA. You want to be a defensive coach without defensive players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of it will have to do how this roster gets changed around. I think for them, for the Kings, they got to get somebody to connect with De'Aaron, because they've hitched themselves to De'Aaron.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I don't say that imply that like De'Aaron's a coach killer or anything. I'm just saying that you got to get someone who can reach him and get the most out of him. And if you can't get that guy, we're back here in 2 years.
Wow. Hey, Jason, I think we've talked to everybody about this, so I just gotta pick your brain about it. This could go crazy, but we'll ask it anyway. Why do you think it's so hard for people to say Mark Jackson simply did a good job in Golden State? Like, when people bring up Mark Jackson, they always talk about all the things he did wrong, which apparently he did a lot of things that didn't work, and nobody's disputing that. But when it's brought up about the actual wins and losses, there's always a bunch of caveats, or you dismiss his actual wins out there. And I always feel like it shouldn't be that hard to be like, yeah, I don't think Sacramento, for instance, will be a good place for him. I think he brings a lot of baggage. I don't think this is the good spot for him. But you know what? He did pretty good in Golden State, and leave it at that. Like, why is it always some kind of caveat that tries to diminish what he achieved in Golden State, in your opinion?
Mark has a personality that can rub people the wrong way very easily. I mean, I've had interactions with him where I thought he was cool. There's times where I was like, I don't like this dude at all. And a lot of times in those situations, like, if you met Steve Kerr, it's impossible to not like Steve Kerr. But it's very believable that people don't like Mark Jackson. Just because, I think some of it does have to do with the religion thing, and people kind of see, he's a preacher, so to speak, but then he had the situation with the stripper and all that. And when you kind of prop yourself up to be that guy, people love to see you fall. And there were people in that locker room who thought the religion thing was kind of like a gimmick. I think Andrew Bogut probably famously didn't care if anyone cared. That he knew that he didn't care for it. But I just think Mark's personality is such that he's very easy not to like. I mean, fair or unfair, he can, come off as a guy that's not very likable. And so when you do talk about the things that happened with Golden State, it's easy to go, well, yeah, he did this good and that, but Mark's a jerk. And I think a lot of people do that with Mark. And I think in terms of on the court, forget what he inherited and where they got to, and before Steve took over. But yeah, this guy, I mean, a lot of it is people don't like Mark. Players, they don't like him. And so, to me, it's crazy that even given the issues people had in Golden State, he hadn't had a job in 8 years?
Yeah.
So to me, that speaks more to the people don't like him. Because there are people who don't like Dave Yeager. He kept getting jobs. So to me, it's just, honestly, it's a personality. We don't like that guy type thing. And because when he got fired in Golden State, there's people who would tell you the people out in Oakland did not do him any favors. They let everyone know what the issues were. And there are people there who will defend him. They'll say, remember the situation they had where he had the assistant on staff who they said essentially was a spy for the ownership.
Yeah.
In most cases, it's supposed to be like, that's wrong. But people don't like Mark. They're not going to Mark to do that.
Story.
It's like Mark. And for me, there's things that come along with that to where, it's just what's going to happen with Mark, which is why I think he would be a much better fit with a veteran team, probably. Maybe it's, an older team where he doesn't come in and do so much, but it remains, it's one of the great mysteries to me. A guy who won 50 games in his last season just can't get a job.
I don't think it's a mystery. I think you just explained why he probably doesn't. Like, is this, in the NFL, you can get away with hiring the Bill Parcells guys, right? You can get away with hiring guys who refer to wide receivers as the player. You could get away with that. In the NBA, that's a lot tougher to do in the NBA.
Yeah, that's true.
Hiring someone, we don't like this dude. He's a jerk. Yeah, okay. That kind of probably disqualifies you from, no matter what you did or didn't do on the basketball floor, no matter what you did well, it can quickly get canceled out by, no, that dude's a jerk. We need a guy who can do, especially here, we need a guy who can, kiss babies and shake hands and be out on the streets. Like, we have got some rehabbing to do here in Sacramento. Like, we need to have a coach that lasts for longer than 3 years. Like, and if Mark can't do that, then he can't do that. And it's got to be somebody else.
Yeah, this is a very true, very valid point with that. Just because, like you said, the type of guy you need, you can't have a guy, like I said, Mark can be honest to a fault, and, not knowing to cover up his beliefs, when the, I forget, I always get the Collins twins mixed up with one who came out as gay. Was that Jason Collins still playing? Still playing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when Mark's response is, I'm going to pray for him, you got to read the room, Mark. You coach in the Bay Area. Come on, Mark. Really? You couldn't have just said something, even though we all probably knew how Mark felt, that was not the time for Mark to decide I'm going to be, I'm going to let you know how I feel, And then, to me, a lot of it is the religion thing. I think that rubs people the wrong way in 2022.
Yeah.
Especially if you're coaching in California.
Yeah.
Maybe if you were down in Memphis, that stuff might fly a little differently. But you can't even, especially when you're with the Warriors and you have an executive who's gay, and you say that about Collins, it's kind of like, are you just tone deaf? Like, do you just not get it? And it's for me, when I hear everything about Mark, it's never about coaching. Well, some of it is, in terms of his offense and whatnot. A lot of the issue people have is personality. Is that fair? Maybe, maybe not. I think Popovich is a jerk a lot, but Popovich just want a whole lot more, so he can get away with it. Mark can't get away with it. And I think, if he gets another job, I think he'll have a chance to do better. I think, especially in sports and as a coach, a lot of guys learn from their first mistakes in their first couple of jobs. How many jobs has Alvin had as a head guy? So guys get chances to learn and figure things out. So I think I've really just kind of enjoyed the banter about Mark, because it's
been a lot of it.
As soon as his name pops up, it was like a campaign. Do not bring Mark Jackson to Sacramento. You did this, and this, and this, and this. It's like, some of the things that have happened in Sacramento outside of Mark Jackson, and you're worried about that? There's people in the building who have done crazier stuff. And it's just, the whole Mark thing is, this guy, I don't think he'll get the job anyway. I'd be shocked they hired Mark Jackson, but yeah. And I've had people who tell me Mark definitely would take the Kings job. He definitely is intrigued by it. He's interviewing so clearly, but I just found the banner around Mark amazing, just because he's almost so polarizing for a guy who hasn't coached in 2014.
Right.
Yeah. Ask the professor, Jason Jones. You got anything that you want to?
No, I was just going to ask him one quick non-Mark Jackson question. If you got 2 minutes for me, Jason, just real quick, because I asked Damien the question earlier, and we just played hypothetical. Quinn Snyder, he's out of there, or whatever the case may be, and he's on the market. And if you're the Kings, in all things perfect world, Quinn Snyder, Will Hardy in Boston said they wanted to be this next Sacramento Kings coach. Would you go with the established vet in Quinn Snyder, or the new hotness in Will Hardy, who everybody is just falling in love with? What would your approach to the next Kings coach be?
See, I don't know enough about Will Hardy to say definitively, I jump at that. To me, it really comes down to who can connect with the Aaron. You know, I think what Quinn has done in Utah, he's shown, whether it be George Hill. You forget George Hill was out there a few years ago. Whether it be a Jordan Clarkson, a Donovan Mitchell, Quinn showed he can get something out of a guard. Mike Conley got to an All-Star game finally playing for Quinn, so we know he can do that. So to me, that's a positive. But I'm also not opposed to some new energy, something fresh, something different.
Yeah.
So I think it all depends on, to me, who connects with the players, because I don't think the Kings are going to let, say, De'Aaron and Sabonis have final say or anything crazy. But you got to be able to connect with these guys because they've gone through so many, especially a guy like De'Aaron and Harrison in Sacramento, so many different coaches, and I think it's just human nature that you get on your fifth coach in whatever 6 years. You kind of just by nature kind of say, yeah, whatever. Because this guy will be gone and I'll still be here. So I think it'll really come down to, I like the idea of the Kings getting an established guy. I think maybe that's a quicker path to getting things right. But, missed the playoffs 16 years. Forget a quick fix. Get the right guy if he's young, and you got to give that young guy 4 or 5 years to get it right. You get the young guy and give it 4 or 5 years. Stop with the whole, we're going to get someone in and they're going to fix it in a year, because you don't fix this in a year unless one of these guys.
Jason, you're wrong. Like this ain't. We're not doing this another year. You can actually make the playoffs next year, miss it the next 2, and do it that way. That's fine. we ain't doing 17. 17 ain't happening. That can't happen. No, 17 can't happen. 17 can't happen. I'm gonna tell you this right now. It can't happen.
This week gonna turn legal, probably. Don't worry.
17 can't happen.
I propose we.
Just hope the streak don't start drinking. That's all.
We start referring to the streak. It's X7. I think that's how we should do it. The streak hits X7. Only a handful of people gonna get that, but from here on out, it's X7.
The streak is gonna vote in a couple of years. I said, just hope the streak does not get to where you can go to the bar.
That's what I say. Go for that quick fix. You better get that quick fix. We ain't worrying around no 3-4 years.
Headed off to the Army. They're like the hell with this. I'm joining the military. Like, I can't do this anymore. Jason, we appreciate you as always, homie. Thank you.
No problem. Take care, guys.